Welcome to We Too Wisdom, and I am so excited for this segment because we have a fabulous We Too member to showcase. We want to welcome Miss Heather Boyd. Heather is the founder of Heather Boyd Wire, where she creates amazing cake toppers and jewelry. See, I'm even wearing these beautiful earrings, these candy earrings that she made for me. And also the founder of startbystarting.tv, where you can find inspiration for creatives, for artists, and for entrepreneurs. It's all about how to live a healthy and soulful life while making money, which is amazing. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Heather has an incredible 25-year journey as an entrepreneur, and she's going to share with us how to persevere with your passion even when things get tough. She's going to share with us how to overcome things like negative feedback and how to deal with stuff like that. And she's also going to share with us how to live an inspired and creative life while still making money from your passion. And she certainly knows a thing or two about that because Heather paid her mortgage with her Etsy store and with her art. So if you want to find out more about how to make a living from your passion, how to overcome adversity, there is no better person to share that with us than Heather Boyd. Heather, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Serena, for having me on this show. And I've been so happy to be a member of We Too for so many years and seen the evolution of the group, and I've learned so much as well. It's amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you in our community. You are always out there supporting, and that's something I want to talk to you about as well. A little later, you're supporting artists and community. But just before we get there, can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do?
Okay, so where to start with that?
Yeah.
Right now I'm specializing in wire cake toppers and jewelry. And I've actually been making wire jewelry for many years. Since 1989, I left my job in Toronto as a graphic artist. Could not handle the 9 to 5, the abusive boss, the whole situation. And so when an opportunity knocked for me to move to Montreal to take a sublet, I jumped at the opportunity. I started selling jewelry on the street, and I just love the lifestyle. And I love the vibe in Montreal. I love the fact that the cost of living was at the time especially much lower. And so that's where I started making the jewelry.
Fabulous. And that's also how you met your hubby.
Exactly. And that's a huge part of the journey, because when I was selling on the streets, I was selling all kinds of very bizarre, hand-painted, very artsy things, and people didn't quite know how to take it because it was a little too artsy for most people. Even the other vendors thought I was a little nuts, but I loved what I was doing. I was passionate about it. And then one day I was in Old Montreal, and I ran into Mark, who is now my partner, and he was making these little wire bicycles and selling them on the streets in Old Montreal. Mm-hmm. And I just sat up beside him, and he handed me a piece of wire, and I created a little penguin or something for him, and he thought it was pretty cool. So that's where the history started, and I just from there I just started making jewelry and decorations, all kinds of things.
Amazing. That's fantastic. What a beautiful story of art and love. And, I can see that story, that beautiful romantic story. And I love that. I think it's such a special part, the people who we meet on the journey, and whether they be fellow entrepreneurs, whether they be partners. Eric and I also work very, very closely together, so I know it takes a special bond when you work so closely together. So now you together have your wire art jewelry, and that's actually how you make a living. So you've paid your mortgage selling these beautiful things. So can you tell us a little bit more about finding your niche?
Yes.
What is a niche? How is it important for our business? And then what did you do to find it? And then what were the results once you narrowed down that niche?
Okay, yeah. So that definitely is also a journey in itself, and we've definitely had our ups and downs over the years. A lot of it based on economy, some of it just based on circumstances. And so what we did was, for many years we sold at craft shows, and sort of in the 90s that was sort of the thing to do. So we did a lot of craft shows. I wholesale jewelry to art galleries across the country. Wow. Even I used to sell to some guy in Japan. He used to send me yen in an envelope like cash.
Wow.
And it was crazy, you know. We had quite the ride, and like I said, up and down. But the '90s were good times, you know. It was really good. And then after we had our daughter, there were a few lean years there, and so it was hard to get out to shows and to, you know, approach stores and things like that. So I actually ended up doing odd jobs. I did cleaning jobs. I taught art. I did birthday parties. I did whatever it took, but everything that I did fueled my creativity. So I have no regrets about any part of the journey, because it really, the whole thing was a learning process. And you know, I love teaching, so it was just perfect that I had those opportunities to do that as well. And then when Etsy came around, we got on the bandwagon really early. You know, I think we got on in the second year that Etsy started. And at the time, it was not user-friendly at all. It was really tricky to navigate. Now it's much easier because there's automatic renewals. You know, they tell you when your things are sold out. You get notifications. So there's all kinds of, you know, with technology now, it's so much easier to sell online than it would have been, you know, a few years ago.
Yes.
But so yeah, we explored Etsy, and at the first I started putting jewelry, and that's for the first year, almost 2 years. It was mostly the jewelry, and I would get a sale here and a sale there, very slow, you know, and I experimented. I put a lot of different things that I thought would sell, and then of course they didn't. And then just on a lark, I put up one of Mark's bikes, because at that time the sales of his little bike ornaments had really gone down. Just people with the whole Walmart dollar store thing, people just want to buy cheap decorations, right? Mm-hmm. So that I didn't really have any expectations at all. I put them up. I put up the little bike, and then I put up one of his little tandem bicycles, just for fun. And then we sold one, and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And then after a couple of weeks, we got a note back from the customer that she'd received the item. And she said, oh, I put it on my wedding cake. And we were like, whoa. I said, what an amazing idea. And so we actually didn't find our niche. Our niche found us. And from there, I started saying, wow, we could totally do this. And I know for some artists, it's very difficult to sort of adapt what they're doing to please the customer. But to me, I have the opposite mentality. It fuels my creativity, and it really, it's a challenge. It inspires me. And so now I do so many like custom orders and things, and I just love it.
That's fantastic. Absolutely. Very cool. And I love that. It's such an important lesson for everybody. It's like finding your niche is not, it's a conversation. It's like a dialogue between you and the client. And then eventually you come in and they come in, and there it is. This is what people want. And so you had wild success with that. That was fantastic.
Yeah. That was amazing. And we even, I just brought, I don't know if you could see it too well, but here's an example of one of the pieces.
I love it.
And so it's the bride and the groom on a tandem bike, and we put their names in here. And so this sample actually says William and Kate. And so that was around the time of the royal wedding. So I actually sent them one as a gift, just for fun. And I got back an official thank you letter from the royal, the royal palace. So that was pretty cool. Yeah,
that's amazing, and it's so beautiful. And I have a couple of your sculptures, a couple of your earrings, and I mean the pictures don't even do them justice. They're so beautiful. When you get them in person, it's just like wow, just the quality and the craftsmanship and the love, and you also have a sort of a radical like desire. I don't want to say radical. I think it's important, but for everybody to please your customer. Like you have a really, really good sense of customer service.
Yes.
And that's been very, very important to you on your journey. So I can see how that's also fueled your success. Can you tell us more about your philosophy about that?
Yeah, definitely customer service to me is number one, because without the customers, you're nothing. And it's sort of like the whole YouTube thing as well, you know, without the fans, you know, without the viewers, you're nothing. So to me, it's all about making the customer happy. And even, for example, recently I had a package go missing that went overseas, and I went out of my way to pay the UPS, the extra charges to get it over there. And ultimately the first one was sent back, so I can reuse it anyways. But to me, even if I take a hit on some of these orders, it all evens out, and just making the customer happy to me is the most important thing.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
it's really important. And I think that that's a great lesson for everybody here, to, say, hey, even if I take a hit,
Yeah.
I want you to be happy. And that's probably why also all of your reviews are 5-star, and, everybody's so happy with your work. And
Thank you.
certainly I can see why from the beautiful work itself, and from that desire to please your client. And so that's been part of your success, is listening to the client. What does the client want? That's how you found your niche. That's how you've sustained your business to great, that's allowed you to have the lifestyle you have now, where you travel and you're always out in the community supporting other people, supporting artists, supporting other entrepreneurs. So can you tell me a little bit about that and the whole birth of Start by Starting, and what that is on that side?
Yeah, well, to me, it's just always been very natural for me to support other artists. And I think the reason I do it is because, first of all, it's always feels good to help other people, but also I always learn so much in the process. So I can't say it's 100% non-selfish tactics, but I do love helping other, entrepreneurs and artists. And I love the challenge of it. I love what I learn. I love, just the positive results all around. And I know sometimes I even go out of my way, and the other person is a little resistant to help or to change. But to me, it's always worth it to offer, and if you don't offer, you never know. And so many times, even helping people, sometimes I help people with their Etsy shops. And when I do that, sometimes I do it, I get paid for it. Sometimes I do it with friends, just as a sort of an exchange, or just
to encourage them.
And why I love to do that is because I learn in the process. So every time I sit down with someone and help them out with their Etsy shop or with their social media or what have you, there's always something for me to learn in the process, something I didn't know, something I didn't realize. And it's definitely a learning process.
Fantastic. You always have such a wonderful, positive attitude. And so community is important to you, supporting others, and this exchange, this beautiful exchange. So can you tell me a little bit, please, about your success with social media, talking about social media? So you've had many views, and you really have used social media as a tool to grow your business. Definitely. And also it shows that you enjoy it. You absolutely enjoy it. So can you tell us a little bit about your social media journey and what you've discovered, and maybe some tips for our audience?
Okay, perfect. Well, I have to say that much of what I've learned on social media is from my daughter, Mimi. Who actually started YouTube way before the heyday of YouTube. She started about 10 years ago or something.
Wow.
2010, 2008, almost 10 years ago, I think she started. And when she started, it was just for fun, and I never thought about doing it myself. And then I guess after a couple of years, I said, maybe I could do this too. So I started actually on YouTube with just a little crappy tour of my studio, which is basically my dining room table, and just to show people what I was doing and how I made things. And then I really liked that process of teaching through video. I thought it was really interesting. So I used to go over to my friend's house, and we would, we're both artists, so we would make things together, work on our own particular projects. And she had a little Panasonic camera. So she one day filmed me making these little fabric beads. And then that was the next video I put up on YouTube. And I kind of forgot about it for a little while. I think I was putting up a video here or there or something. And then it accumulated a few views. And I remember going to a conference once, and public speaking conference, and the organizer, question time or something, asked if anyone had YouTube or something. And I mentioned I had this channel and I had 40,000 views on this video. And he was like, wow, 40,000 views, that's a lot. And I didn't think much of it. But anyways, that motivated me to keep going with it. So I said, oh, this could be interesting. So now I have, I don't know, about 600,000 views on the channel. But the main thing is that's really nothing in terms of YouTube, the YouTube world and number of views type of thing. But to me, it's motivated me to continue to evolve and to research. So I do a lot of research about, how to have a successful channel and create good videos. And so my channel has definitely evolved. So it's something that I'm really proud of now. So I think that's the key. I don't really look at all the numbers, and I know that a lot of people just check their numbers. They check their followers. Oh my God, I lost a subscriber. It's, I lost a follower. And it's like, I don't even look at that. It's not important to me. It's what I enjoy doing. Am I proud of what I'm putting out? And that's the main thing.
I love that.
Thank you.
I absolutely love that. Thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
That's, it comes from a place of service and love and enjoyment. And I think maybe you agree with me. I don't know. I think that might be also the reason for your success. It's not like I'm trying to do all the things to make it, you're researching how to make it better, but it comes from a pure place of like, hey, I'm going to share with you something that I enjoy. So there's an authenticity that comes through in your work, in your social media.
Definitely. I think that's the thing. You really have to enjoy it, because if you're doing it just to get views, just to make money, why bother? Really, it makes no sense to me. And when you do that, you set yourself up for disappointment. And it's like this whole concept of expectations. I have a running joke with my daughter, because I remember one time we went to Toronto and we were looking for this breakfast place to have, I looked up Google best breakfast place in Toronto and all this stuff. And we were like, the night before, and so we get up in the morning, we're all excited to go to this place for breakfast, and we get there, we're starving, we had to take the metro, this and that, and then we get there and the place I remember the place was called Expectations. And then we finally got there after getting lost and trying to find it, and there was this line up out the door, and we're like, oh crap, it's like, okay, this is so typical, like setting up your expectations and then getting completely disappointed. And so we didn't even end up going there. We went somewhere else and actually had a wonderful meal somewhere else that we went totally improvised. And to me, that's really a metaphor for life. And it's just, don't get stuck on this goal, this expectation. I once heard a quote, and I don't know who it's from. It said, aim for that or something better. So it doesn't have to be that you're aiming for. It could be something better, something totally different. But you have an idea of where you're going, but just be flexible with the path.
Be flexible with the path, have an idea, and that's, I think, also demonstrated by your journey, with the conversation with the client, with discovering new things, looking always sort of, there's a curiosity. That's sort of the word. There's like sort of a curiosity. It's a dance with life, and I think that speaks to your having a creative and fun life while still making money.
Definitely.
So do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Like what you think about that?
About curiosity and the journey. Definitely. I mean, that's sort of what my life is all about. I just, we talked about earlier about supporting other artists and entrepreneurs. And to me, I devote a good chunk of my time to going out and exploring and getting stimulated with different, creative experiences. So recently, actually, we've been going to a lot of stand-up comedy,
okay.
which I never used to like when I was younger, but now, especially since I started writing comics, it's I just love seeing the humor and the irony in things. And so we've been going to see stand-up comedy, and then when we go, it's just always great to meet the people, not just to go and watch, but to connect with the people, connect with them after on social media, like tag them to promote them. And to me, that's part of the experience, is not just watching or going to a show or watching a movie or whatever, but sharing it with other people, because I know that I would appreciate it if other people shared my work. And I appreciate when other people share their experiences, because maybe I want to experience the same thing. Yeah.
Amazing. Perfect. Absolutely. And that's about like community, with We Too,
Definitely.
with online, like it's not just, okay, thank you so much, I'm taking it in and leaving. I'm
Yeah.
going to connect,
Yeah.
meaningful connections,
Yeah.
and you never know what beautiful things come, what friendships are made, and what doors are open. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important, especially, speaking about community and curiosity and
Yes.
service. So I know that the journey has not always been, 100% perfect.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, let's say, I mean, it's not to say that, again, you don't regret anything that happens. It
Mm-hmm.
serves a purpose and it teaches us something. But can you tell us a little bit about any of the adversities and how you overcome, and also some of maybe the negative feedback that you've
Mm-hmm.
experienced and how you took that in stride and what you do? So it's kind of
Yeah.
like a two-phase question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's definitely an interesting question. And I have to be honest that within what I do with The Wire, I haven't had a lot of negativity.
Okay.
Very rare. It's very rare. But the where I've experienced negativity recently was I started writing these comics. A couple of years ago, I went on a retreat to Costa Rica, and I remember hanging out with my friend Bhaskar one day, and I was telling him I'd written a couple of comics about. I would take pictures of my family and write down our conversation, and just the things that I find funny or sarcastic in our conversation. So I was making these little comics, and he was fascinated, and I'm like, maybe I should start just like sharing these. I never thought about it. So I started an Instagram account and putting the comics up on there, and I would just do them for fun. We'd go out during the day and we'd have these conversations, and something would be funny. So I'd take a few shots, do a little text, and put them up there. And then gradually, people started following them and liking them. And then one day, I got this little, I'm trying to think of how it worked, because I actually did a video about how to make the comics on YouTube as well. And one day I got a comment, I think it was on the video, that someone said, "Oh, your stuff is on Reddit or something like that, or said your things are in the comedy cemetery on Reddit." And I'm like, what is that? I didn't know what Reddit was. So I went and I checked it out, and sure enough, people have been sharing the comics on Reddit, and like just like raking them over the coals, like insulting me and all this stuff. But so one night I was like on Reddit reading all these comments, and I don't have them handy, but just, insulting either the way I looked or what I said or just whatever. And I just thought it was funny. I read these, I laughed, because I get that kind of humor, it's a sad kind of humor in a way, when people make fun of other people. But I think, we all are guilty of doing, it's the whole stand-up comedy thing. I think we're all guilty of laughing at other people's expense, so to speak, type of thing. But like I said, I just thought it was funny. So I actually went on Reddit and made some comments and on some of the posts. And then someone said, "Oh, you should do an AMA." And I'm like, well, I don't even know what an AMA is. And apparently it's a ask me anything. So it's like a Q&A type of thing. I guess it's sort of terms they use on Reddit. So I said, "Oh, sure, I'll do it. Why not?" And then people started commenting on the post, "Oh, don't let her do it. She's walking into her own funeral. It's don't let her tell her to stop." And so that night I said, "Oh, I'm going to do it at 10." So that night at 10 o'clock, I wrote on the as a post. I said, "Oh, you guys, I don't know what an AMA is, but here I am, and I think you guys are hilarious. I just the comics are basically storytelling, vignettes of my day, that type of thing." And I just left it at that. I didn't think anybody would even comment or ask. And then I started getting all this like really positive feedback. Like people were they were saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't understand your comics, and it's nice to hear your explanation." And then they started asking me questions, and I just thought, wow, what this is really interesting, And then some of the people that were in that whole conversation have become my friends, like on Instagram. Like there's some of the
Wow.
people that I still communicate with, and or that I go on their stuff and I like their stuff, and it's to me it's just a big game. It's just a big huge game, and I try not to take things too personally, because it's life. It's a big game. I think if you're going to put yourself out there on social media, be it Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, anything, you have to be open to things like that. Otherwise, you wouldn't go on the internet at all.
Wow. What a lesson for all of us.
Mm.
Really. I mean, in so many levels, on so many levels. So Heather, when you first read it, did your heart sink a little? Did it hurt a little bit? I mean, it must have a little bit.
It probably did, but honestly, I don't remember feeling that feeling, because I think my mind went right up to the humor of it, so probably for a minute, I'm sure I had a flash of panic or whatever, but I think my brain didn't stick there. I think it just went right over to the part, the ironic side of things. And I just found, I saw the humor in it right away, and I could totally relate. Like, I remember when I was 15 and making stupid jokes and doing all kinds of things. Like, people have different kinds of sense of humor, and yeah.
And so if somebody sees something like that, and I think it's a little bit evident, and their heart sinks and they feel horrible and they feel scared and they feel like, I'm never doing anything again, I don't want to put myself, what would you say to that person?
Well, I would say that,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that the internet probably has an attention span of a millisecond.
Okay.
And so what people are seeing, if people see something negative about you, they're going to forget it in like a very short period of time. I think it's a normal human nature to be very self-conscious and to be hyper aware of what people are going to think about us. But people have their own agenda. They don't need to waste their time worrying about other people. I think they're always on to the next thing.
Yeah. There's a great quote. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt. I can't remember. So forgive me if that's not her. She said, you wouldn't care so much, you wouldn't worry so much about what people think of you if you realized how seldom they do, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, they don't really, they're not too. Good for you for having such a great attitude and just turning it around and seeing the humanity in it all, and the ability to not take ourselves too seriously as well. How important that is on the journey, right?
Yeah. No,
to be able to laugh at ourselves,
Yep. No, well, I remember when I was in high school, my best friend Sharon, she had this quote she always said. She used to say, laugh at yourself. Everybody else does.
Yeah, exactly.
It boils down to that.
Yeah. Being able to look at yourself and laugh and look at the turnaround that happened there when you connected with people.
Well,
right?
Yeah, and not only that, but actually some in that AMA conversation, some people actually gave me suggestions on how to aesthetically improve my comics. So I actually went in and changed the way I was creating the comics so they actually look nicer now. So to me, I totally learned in the whole experience.
Wow. That's the theme through this whole journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
From your clients with the tandem bicycles and the wedding cake toppers, being open to being open and flexible and saying, what can I learn from this experience, good or bad, right? Mm-hmm. And you have your We Too mug too.
I have my cup.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's fantastic. So this is awesome. Is there anything else that you feel you'd like to share with us? Any tips, anything you'd like to share with our community?
Yeah, I think it's all about just finding your own voice and just being yourself, really, because certainly from what I've seen especially on all the social media platforms, on Instagram, YouTube, and all this, I see so many people trying to emulate others, and which is, it's a really hard, you're setting yourself up for a bit of a struggle, because it's really, once you try to do that, it's really hard to find your own voice, you know, if you're trying to speak in somebody else's voice. And I think that's what I've always tried to do, is just be myself. And like I said, even at the very beginning when I was selling on the street, like, the other street vendors would like kind of laugh at me and just think it was kind of crazy what I was doing. But there must have been a little voice at the back of my head that just said, keep going, just keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing. And I think I never judged my success on how much money I was making, because even in the times that I was making very little money, I was still being creative and still making things that I was proud of. So I would just never judge your success based on dollars. It just doesn't work.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of this wisdom with us. We can't wait to welcome you back. And if we wanted to know more about you, where could we find you?
Okay, so you can find me all over the internet. If you want to see my wire jewelry, it's at heatherboydwire.com. If you'd like to read my blog, I also have some healthy recipes, and often I write blog posts about events I go to, insights for entrepreneurs tips. That's startbystarting.tv.
Great.
And on Instagram, I have 3 accounts. I have Heather Boyd Wire, Heather Boyd Blog, and Heather Boyd Comics.
Fabulous. And we're going to post those for people who want to go check you out. I highly recommend connect with Heather. Tell her how much you've enjoyed all of her wisdom and her beautiful work, and the things that we've learned in this interview has been amazing. Thank you for taking the time to share with us, Heather. And we look forward, and we wish you much continued success on your journey.
Thank you so much, Serena. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yes.